Today, let's make my version of a seitan brisket.
It's easy, it's tasty. Let's make it.
You want to start with a food processor, but before you do, you actually want to get your oven going, 350 degrees. I almost forgot to do that. Okay.
We're going to start with 1 can of kidney beans drained. This happens to be dark kidney beans, but whatever kidney bean you want to use, go for it.
I made it with light the other day and it was just as good. Okay, what's next?
Next up is a teaspoon of instant coffee. Now this may seem like a strange ingredient, but it actually really helps add to the meatiness of this dish.
Makes it beefy. 1 teaspoon?
Yep.
And I'm eyeballing because this is a very forgiving recipe. You don't have to be super exact on things. If you like a little more of something or a little less of something, go ahead and do it.
Next up is a tablespoon each of the Wonder Twins, garlic powder, and onion powder.
I say that, and I will tell you if something is super critical to the recipe. These are flavorants at this point.
Speaking of flavorants, we have another slightly unusual ingredient, but it really adds to the flavor, and that's chipotle. We're doing a ½ teaspoon of the ground chipotle chili.
I'm using this for the smokiness of it, more so than the flavor of chili.
Continuing on with the smoked theme, we're gonna add some smoked paprika. We're gonna do 1 teaspoon of that.
You can add a little more if you want. You can also use liquid smoke if you want, but this is gonna get braised for a long time, so a lot of that liquid smoke is gonna either evaporate out or get mixed into the braising liquid, so be careful.
Now we're gonna add an ingredient that we typically leave out of our recipes, but in this particular one, I feel like it's really important to give that unctuousness, and that's a little bit of oil.
So yeah, I'm gonna be using 2 tablespoons of canola oil. You can leave this out. However, I found that the addition of that bit of oil actually changes the texture drastically in this seitan. You also have to remember, this should serve like 4 or 5 people.
Yeah.
So 2 tablespoons between 4 or 5 people. I understand if you don't want to use oil, don't use it. Leave it out. It'll still be great. It just won't be exactly the same. And then?
So we're going to need a bit of a salty flavor, particularly since we use the low sodium can of beans. And for that, we're going to use a tablespoon of soy sauce.
I hate the bottles that soy sauce comes in. They always make it difficult to close up without leaking. I actually did it right that time.
Yay.
Okay, and then?
And then we're going to do a tablespoon of miso. Today we're using white miso. I think red miso would also be appropriate for this particular dish.
Yes, you could use either one, and it's just a tablespoon. This also adds a salty component, but it also adds that umami, and it adds to the meatiness of the dish.
Yeah, it's really going to add to the depth of flavor.
But it sticks to the spoon.
Yeah, it's a paste.
Yeah. If you know me at all, you know that I really don't like having things sticking to me. It's a weird thing. It just bothered me. I wash my hands about 5 million times when I'm cooking. Okay, next.
Next up is molasses. Today we're using blackstrap molasses. We're going to do 1 full tablespoon.
Now I'll wash the spoon now too. You don't want to go sticking your miso spoon into your molasses. Molasses adds that irony kind of beefiness with a richness that is hard to get otherwise. So that's why I like to use it. If you don't want to, you don't have to. One thing that happens a lot with recipes like this is people are always asking, can I substitute this or can I leave that out? The answer is almost always yes, but because there's a reason it's there. If you leave it out or you substitute it for something else, it's going to change it. So can you do it? Sure. Will it be the same? Absolutely not.
That comes into play particularly for seitan recipes because not only are you going to be changing the flavor, but you could also be changing the structure and ending up with a much different texture.
Yes, exactly. So I don't like to tell people no, but if you're sensitive to something that's in here and you really can't have it, make adjustments and that's fine. It just won't be exactly the same. What else?
All right, so now we're going to actually measure something, and that something is beet juice. Many of our recipes include beetroot powder, but we found that the beet juice in this particular recipe works really well. We're doing a 1/4 cup of beet juice.
Really? Just a 1/4 cup? I think I add more later, don't I?
Yes, there's more beet juice later.
How much more?
1/2 cup.
You know what? I'm gonna do a 1/2 cup now. Changing it up. It'll blend better with a little bit more liquid, and I can always add more to things later on.
So you're doing a 1/2 cup now and you'll add a 1/4 later?
Yes.
Okay.
So we're changing it up. She hates it when I do that.
Yep.
But it'll help this to blend better right now, so that's why I'm doing it.
Continuing with our liquids, we're also going to add 2 tablespoons of red wine vinegar.
Don't skimp on this either. It actually gets rid of some of the vital wheat gluten-y flavor that some people find objectionable.
Which you probably noticed we haven't added yet, but that comes later. It's time to blend.
Okay, so put the lid on. Blend this up for like a full minute. You want to break down those beans completely. And that's why I like to add that little bit more liquid now, even though I wrote it differently. It'll break up those beans and make it more of a liquid when we get to the next step. All right, so I blended it for almost 2 full minutes. And the reason is the bean skins. You basically want to just break them down completely. Now, there is something to be said for the texture that they create within the seitan because they prevent certain things in the seitan from sticking together, so it helps it to be a little bit more tender. I mean, there is that, but I've found that blending the heck out of it just seems to work best for me, and I'm just trying to get all the juice. See, it looks like tomato soup. It's just completely liquid, no real chunks in there at all. Now comes the dance of getting it all off the blades and into the bowl. I'm just gonna let Derek do it. All right, so now we have our liquid. Time to start adding some other stuff.
First step is vital wheat gluten, because without vital wheat gluten, we aren't making seitan.
We're making soup. Now, again, we always get asked, is there any substitute for vital wheat gluten? In this, no, there is not. There's just no way to do this the same way without vital wheat gluten, so I'm really sorry. And vital wheat gluten is not flour, contrary to what some people have said. It's actually just the protein part of flour. Gluten is protein. Anyway,
2
how much?
cups.
2 cups. This is a rather large recipe, but because it takes so long, I feel it's kind of important, you know, to make a larger recipe. We got to get more vital wheat gluten. We're almost running out. All right, there's our 2 cups. And yes, I keep a measuring cup right in the bag. It's nice and convenient.
Now we're back to beet juice. Since we did the half initially, we're doing the 1/4 now.
You could do 3/4 up front if you really wanted to. It doesn't matter. At this point, I'm just trying to put in enough liquid to make it so I can make the dough. But I know I'm going to need at least that much. So in it goes.
The only thing I have left on my ingredients list for this part of the recipe is some water. So 1/2 cup of water as needed, as we've shown in many other videos. Sometimes you need a little bit more, sometimes you need a little bit less.
Now I can see right off that this is kind of on the dry side, right? There's still a lot of dry. So I'm going to make up 1/2 cup of water. It also rinses out the beet juice so you don't waste it. Could you use all beet juice? Of course you can. I feel like at a certain point it does start adding flavor though, and not in a desirable way. I like the earthiness as just like a back note, but I wouldn't want it to be too prominent. And this will vary because your beans might be different. You might have rinsed them better, or they got drier before you used them. The vital wheat gluten might be different this day or that day. Humidity is different in the air. You know, a butterfly landed in Tokyo and made it drier here. I don't know. I need all that water today though. It's better to be a little too wet than a little too dry because we're gonna braise this anyway. So it's going into a liquid, but you don't want it to be soupy. At a certain point, you have to start using the best tools you have, and that's your hands. So I just want to get the rest of this little powder off of here and then get in there with my hand and really start working the sides, get it all off. See, it's a little on the wet side right now, but as I mix this, there's still some dry in there. It'll be fine. I'm kind of just squeezing it through right now because see, there's different colors and there's dry and there's wet and there's dry. We want it all to be more or less homogeneous. But you can see the strands already starting to form. And then I'll start picking it up and I want to give this a quick knead. You don't want to do too much, a minute, maybe 2 minutes. And I do it right in the bowl just because that way I don't stain a cutting board or anything like that.
That beet juice.
Yeah. I'm going to have purple hands for a couple hours. It does wash off. It goes away quickly, but you know, you get some on you. Don't wear white when you're making this. Unless you want it to be purple with purple spotted. So, okay, after a little kneading, you just saw it. That was real time. This is what it starts to look like. It has a really nice texture. Those strands have formed. That's all we want. It doesn't need to be super firm because if you've ever had a brisket that's slow cooked and everything like that, it should kind of fall apart. You can cut this with a fork when it's done. So Leave it in the bowl. Onto the braising liquid. A braise is when you cook something partially submerged. So we're going to be using one of these big baking dishes. Yeah, Corningware. This is the 2.8 liter. I'm going to use 2 of them today, but you don't actually have to have 2. You don't even have to have 1. But this holds the brisket just the right size and keeps the liquid nice around it. So that's why I'm using this. It gets spattered with the juice though. Oh my God, they're a pain to clean afterwards. But anyway, it's worth it. What do we got?
All right, my notes here got condensed, so they're kind of crazy, but I think we start with 2 tablespoons of olive oil.
Again, if you don't want to use the oil, don't. I found that using the oil really does help to tenderize that seitan. And it's being split with like 5 servings.
And because this is our braising liquid, the olive oil actually brings some flavor to the mix as well.
That's why I used olive oil for this.
Yep.
Okay, what's next?
A tablespoon of molasses.
More molasses. Molasses, again, brings just such a rich earthiness to this that you don't want to leave this out.
A teaspoon of red wine vinegar.
This is going to add just a little bit of acidity and help with that VWG flavor. You might be thinking this is all redundant. Quite a bit of it is, but we're trying to keep the flavors in the seitan and add just extra, concentrate that flavor as it cooks.
I think one possible augmentation you can do for the braising liquid, if you don't want to use vinegar, you probably could just use a nice red wine.
Yes, you absolutely could. Yep, red wine or vinegar for this.
A teaspoon of sesame oil.
This adds such an amazing flavor.
So much flavor.
Even if you don't want to use oil, I would use sesame oil because it's not a cooking oil. It's a seasoning oil.
Yeah.
Okay. And just the smell of it already is making it smell great. It makes things like meatier. So if you really don't like meat, well, you probably wouldn't be making a seitan brisket in the first place. But if you really don't like meat, you can leave it out. But I don't know. That's the one thing I would definitely put in.
Sesame oil is just fantastic regardless.
Next.
We're going to do some dried oregano and some dried thyme, a teaspoon of each.
These are there, obviously, just for the seasoning. Just add a bit of flavor.
Same goes for the smoked paprika.
A teaspoon?
A teaspoon.
And again, this is just going to add that little bit of smoked flavor.
Now we need some black pepper.
Black pepper. How much?
To taste.
To taste.
So in our household, for me, it's heavy-handed. For other members of our household, not so much.
A good pinch.
So put in use your heart to measure your black pepper, right? Yeah.
Next.
Just some water, like 1.5 cups.
Don't have to be too specific, and it's going to depend on the container you use. Essentially, you want the liquid to come halfway up your seitan when you put it in there, which for me was 1.5 cups. And I want to mix that through because I got like floating islands of oregano in here. All stay in there. Come on, get off the spoonula. You too good for your home? All right, okay. Now we grab our seitan.
Careful.
Yep.
We're sloshy.
Yep, and it sat in the bowl, so this side is nice and flat. I'm gonna leave that as the top because that way the weight of itself will actually push the other side more flat into the braising liquid. But I do wanna kind of seal it up a bit. I want it to be loaf shaped. That's the easiest way to describe the shape because I'm not making it brisket shaped. It's just, there's no need to. Instead, I just wanna make it about 2 inches tall maybe, and whatever width and length you like. I cut it into slices to serve. Just slap it around a little bit. It likes it. It's okay. And then here we go, just gently into the braising liquid. All right, so you see how it's like halfway in there and it's just submerged part way. That's exactly what we're looking for. Now, put a lid on it carefully and stick in the oven for about an hour. All right, an hour has gone by. Oh. Open the oven, it's really steamy, and pull out the brisket. Yes, it's very bubbly, and as you can see, the brisket itself has expanded a bit. That's just going to happen, it's okay. But now comes the scary part. Notice the linesman's gloves. These are good to 500 degrees.
I will also be stepping away.
Yep. I want to make sure that it's not up against the sides. Now, some people will actually prefer to flip this every half hour or something like that. I've done that too, but I just find it's not quite cooked through yet. Like even now, it's very, very, very soft. So I'm using a big spatula underneath it and then a smaller spatula so that I can literally be holding it and flip it over very, very carefully. You see, it's super soft, but that comes out to tender once you get to cutting it later on. And now just give it a couple of pats with the spatula. Put the lid back on. It's not done cooking. One more hour. All right, another hour's gone by. And the liquid's just about gone in here. Sometimes I add more liquid in the middle. This time I didn't. I'm just gonna take the lid off. Wow, probably a mistake to take my gloves off. Oh well. All right, so what I wanna do now is make sure it's not stuck anywhere. So I just go around with a spatula and I'm gonna move it onto the cutting board. That's why Derek was giving me a wide berth here. Getting it out is always a little bit tricky, but if you're careful and patient, which I am neither, you can make it work. A long spatula like this is really good because I can get all the way underneath it, scrape the sides, scrape as I need to, get it out, and ta-da. Okay, in a perfect world, just like I always say, you want to put this into another container. That's where I have another one of these, and I'm going to do that eventually, and put it in the fridge for a few hours to overnight or even a couple of days. It'll improve the texture, it'll cool it down. To finish it, what you want to do is pull that out of the fridge, leave the seitan in there, pour the barbecue sauce of your choice on it, put it in an oven, 350 degrees for about 20 minutes. I sometimes put the broiler on for like a minute or two at the end just to caramelize some of that barbecue sauce on top, but that's it. And then it's ready to go. Or serve it however you like. This is a wonderful way to use seitan. But for today, we're just gonna cut a piece off the end to show you what it looks like inside and give it a quick taste. Now it's the best part of every cooking video. We get to taste this. Now, the end on this is usually really, really juicy. But as you can see, this is like super, super soft. Remember earlier I said you can cut it with a fork? Look at that. Just cut it with a fork. The texture is what's incredible on this. It has that juiciness, the meatiness, very, very tender. It's gonna be really, really hot too because it just came out of the oven. Oh well, I'm going for it. This could almost fool someone into believing that this was meat. It has that kind of texture and flavor. It is so good. What do you think?
I think if you prefer the no oil lifestyle, which I totally understand, using oil and having this be a special treat really just bumps it up a notch.
Yeah, the oil, I don't think it's absolutely necessary to make this, but I think it's absolutely necessary to make it have the texture that it has. And that's just an important distinction. Like I said, you can use less, you can leave it out, whatever you'd like to do, it's all good. As far as storage options, once this is at this point, you can freeze it, like let it come to room temperature, wrap it up, and freeze it indefinitely. You can leave it in the fridge for a few days, whatever you like to do. It's actually really, really good after you've sliced it all up and everybody's had what they're gonna have and there's pieces left, as a sandwich. Best sandwich ever. And it actually gave me the idea to work on a new burger recipe using similar-ish techniques. So be on the lookout for that coming probably pretty soon. I have to test it a couple of times, but we'll get there. Oh no, more burgers.
Oh no.
But anyway, make this. And as always, thanks so much for watching. We'll see you next time on The Bistro.